Only yesterday, the ex-Prime Minister, Mr. Prachanda, declared it publicly that come May 28, and we will capture the state. That is the call that I received today. Now what do? Are we prepared to accept that? As far as I am concerned, the geopolitical location of Nepal, the freedom-loving people of Nepal, and its neighborhood environment and the international environment does not allow that. But having said that, let me repeat it. That it is again the internal political dynamics that takes decision. The situation is getting very much serious in Nepal. Are we able to challenge, disarm, so that other armed elements are also disarmed by the state? A state is a state, and a state cannot lower its guard. The only thing that Nepal has right now is the Nepalese army, I would say the last defense of democracy. Something for the people of Nepal to fall back on. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that don't take me otherwise if I am wrong, if you misunderstand me, that I feel, and strongly, that the largest democracy on earth, India. If the armed forces of India were politicized, if the armed forces of India were not accepting the civilian supremacy, objective control of the civilian elected government, India could have disintegrated, I don't know into how many parts. But because of the apolitical characteristics of the Indian armed forces, apolitical nature of it, remaining away from political motivation and ideological indoctrination, it has been able to act as a bedrock on which the largest democracy is not only functioning, it is delivering. The Indian economy, even during this global crisis, is vibrating, I must say. Is vibrating. 8.5% of growth rate. It's not a joke. But you know how conflicting, how contradicting this vast country of yours is. The races and religions, languages, the community that you have, my great God. And still, it is an Indian nation. And democracy is functioning. And people trust in it. Why? Because you have a bedrock to fall back on. I don't need to remind you all, the day India was born as an independent country in 1947, since that day, the Indian armed forces are fighting this menace. Operation other than war. And you are an expert on it. So similarly, the Nepalese army would like to act as a bedrock on which democratic political system must start taking a firm root. Accepting objective control of the civilian elected government, a parliamentary oversight, not in the name of democratization of the army, trying to make Nepalese army a political cadre. One issue, the democratization of the Nepalese army, it is a big issue in Nepal. I have never understood how do you democratize your army. I have talked to number of my counterparts. If your head of the state or head of the government calls you and tells you to democratize your army, what would be your answer? So I have been saying it, democratization of the army means, shall we open an union or divide the army according to the political party? Well, that is what the biggest issue is. So let me remind you once again that whatever happens in Nepal, unstable, troublesome Nepal, is a burden not only to the people of Nepal, but it would have a direct impact. And the final burden would fall on its neighborhood. And the greater impact would be on India. It must be understood. So Nepalese army must be kept away from political influence and ideological indoctrination. Its apolitical nature must be maintained and strengthened, accepting periodically elected government as in any other democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.